My biggest year as a salesperson that I made commission was about a little bit over 2.9 something, 2.9 million straight commission. But there were several years in a row where I was making over like 2.4, 2.5 every year.
Yeah.
W-2 or 10 and 99.
It's crazy because like I see like the top tier salespeople, and rightfully so, they're like bragging, I did $1 million in sales this year or whatever, which is great.
I'm a 7-figure closer.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're really not. But you know,
yeah. So
in
it's
my world,
fascinating.
you're not. But yeah.
So how did you get? I mean, outside of negotiating commissions, but like, what were you doing differently? Do you think to?
Well, I probably had an unfair advantage. So my background in college was behavioral science and like social dynamics. So it's like really like, I don't want to give all the nerd stuff, but it's really the study of the brain and how human beings make decisions. So I started learning just how to work with human behavior, I would say. So I started taking like courses from like people like you would probably know, like Robert Cialdini and stuff like that. I started taking like advanced courses from just, weird stuff like psychologists and stuff that really didn't have anything to do with selling. I started taking I wanted to learn like advanced tonality and body language. So I would hire like acting trainers and stuff that would like train you how to use your facial expressions to like convey a different tone. And so that really probably set me apart than just like reading a traditional selling book. Like you got to set goals, you got to work harder, like that stuff was really boring to me.
Here's 6 different closes you can try
like
tonight.
Here's the 1,365 closing techniques. I'm just like, it's so transactional and so like non-human that it triggers sales resistance. So I learned how to the one thing that we really train salespeople in any industry is how do you get the prospect to let their guard down, like initially where they become open to what you're even talking about. So I started learning how to do that, and selling became pretty easy at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you coined I don't know if you coined the phrase or the term, but NEPQ is your methodology, right?
That is our methodology. So NEPQ stands for Neuro-Emotional Persuasion Questioning. So it's just my methodology that I developed over like about an 18-year sales career. I was in 4 different industries, 2 B2C, 2 B2B. Made 7 figures a year in commissions in all of those industries, multiple 7 figures in 3 of those industries per year. And that's why I always say, like when people come back and they're like, oh, I'm a 7-figure closer. I wanted to go back to it because there was like, I'm a 7-figure closer. I closed $2 million in sales. I'm like, so you made $250,000. That's great. But like to be a 7-figure closer, you like, in my mind, like you have to be earning that much per year in commission. So
yeah.
So NEPQ comes from like my behavioral science background. I'm like a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in my world, there's two types of people who are probably listening to this. One is like the marketing nerds like me who are like, we market something and then we have a phone call in the back. And the other are people who are doing sales or want to do sales. And so maybe let's start from the sales standpoint. So give us some basic, understand the principles of NEPQ, like some core things that someone could grab onto and like start applying right away.
I mean, the biggest thing with us, with NEPQ is like, just one core principle that we would teach is to listen to what the prospect means, not just what they say. And that's a big difference that I think most salespeople just conceptually don't understand. Like I might ask you what we would call a commitment question, like to get you to commit to take the next step. I might say, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? And you'll be like, yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, that tells me that you're uncertain, that you've got concerns. Whereas most salespeople be like, okay, and like he said yes, let's go, let's sign the agreement. But that to me, like I'm hearing your tone, and that tells me you're uncertain, you're concerned. I might just, you seem a bit unsure. Like what's behind that? I want them to open up. So that's just one concept that we would teach, like listening to what they mean, not just what they say.
Interesting. We had this wasn't a sales position, but one of our top customer support people had a conversation with them, and I was like, "How are you so good? Like you answer, everyone loves you." Yeah. And they said the same thing. Like I don't respond what they ask me. I respond what they're actually saying. Yeah. He's like, I don't know how to teach that or how to coach that because it's like, it's human dynamics. Like how do you actually know what they're saying? But that's why he was so great because he was able to look at that. And how do you teach that?
Well, it's something that everybody. I think there's this myth out there in the world of selling, and I think even marketing that people are born with these skills. Like I grew up on a freaking like cattle ranch in the middle of Missouri, outside of a town with less than 800 people in it. Like, I wasn't born out of my mother's womb with like advanced questioning skills. I wasn't born out of my mother's womb like advanced tonality. Like I wasn't born with advanced, objection prevention or handling skills. Like I just acquired those skills. Like I learned those skills. So if I can learn them, right, coming from a farm, that means anybody can acquire those skills. And in fact, we always hear like salespeople, like I'll do a keynote and like somebody will be like, oh, I've got the gift of the gab, like I'm so, I'm going to be so great. It says, I remember I'm training this pest control company over the East Coast here about 6 months ago. And and I asked him some question, and one guy randomly sat in the back, and he's like, I'm brand new, I haven't started, but I got the gift of the gab. My mom said I could sell anything to anybody. And I'm like, actually, the gift of the gab is probably going to hurt you, because you ever heard of that saying, telling is not selling? Mm-hmm. The gift of the gab, actually, we have to train salespeople, like, actually how to, like, stop talking so much, like how to, like, slow down, like verbal pace the questions that you're talking about. Because a lot of times, like, salespeople ask questions, they're good, but they ask them so fast that the prospect has no time to internalize what they're actually asking. And so that's why they get like a knee-jerk, like surface level answer. Let's say you go into a car dealership, right? And the salesman comes up, hey, how's it going? How can I help you? Real quick. You're like, oh, just looking. Yeah. Right? It's a knee-jerk reaction. But if I slow down my tone, let me try to get the right tone. So say they walk in, I might say, hey, welcome into the dealership. Are you guys out just maybe kind of looking around today, or what's going on? I just slow down my tone. Are you out, looking around? Yeah, we're looking around. Do you know what you're maybe looking for? Like, I'm kind of confused, right? So I draw them in. Sure. So it's like how you shift your tone, like how do you slow down, like verbal pace your questions out that really cause a prospect to actually engage with you.
Sure. Super interesting. So I'm not a good one-on-one salesperson. I'm probably the worst in the world.
because you talk really fast?
Well,
you're obviously the best marketer.
But I'm great on one-to-many, right? Like and so it was interesting because then when I was trying to learn how to do that, like, and again, people watch me and they're like, you talk too fast, Russell, which I do. But at the same time, like, I was studying when I was trying to learn how to speak from stage, like really good presenters. And it wasn't just people selling, it was like religious leaders, and it was other people. And that was a thing I noticed a lot, was like their ability to use tonality, like speed and like loud and quiet. And so
it's like I start fluctuating your tone.
Yeah, I would practice that where I go, da, 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 and then I stop.
Yeah.
And come back quieter. And you see the audience, so they lean in, lean out. It's like, I say that from that standpoint.
Yeah. It's kind of what Tony Robbins does.
Yeah.
Like if you know Tony, right? So if you watch Tony, like he'll get really fast and like really emotional, and then he like slows down, he'll like verbal pause. He's a master of that. Obviously that's not something he was born with. Somebody taught him that. Like President Obama, I'm not into politics, but like President Obama was really good when he was speaking, and that's why he engaged so many people, is he would say something really, prophetic or whatever his beliefs were, then he would kind of like verbal pause and like slow down his sentences and like let people internalize and think about it, and like, I love him, So that's those type of things like make the difference in influencing somebody, or like somebody buying something from you, compared to just, asking scripted questions where you sound like a robot.
Yeah. So when you do work with people, talking about, because obviously there is a direction you're taking somebody. Is there a script they're working off of or not? Or how does it typically
So I
work?
believe in like sales structures. Like, you go back to like Hollywood, you see like the best actors and actresses, and you watch their movies, and everything they say is pretty much 100% scripted. Mm-hmm. But does it sound scripted? Mm-hmm. No, that's because they memorize their lines. So as a salesperson, you have to have a structure in your mind. You have to have questions you've got memorized. Now that doesn't mean, because let's say if I'm, what we would ask, it's called an NEPQ situation question, to find out what their situation is. And if they say something different, that I'm not necessarily used to, I'm going to have to kind of change that next question I'm asking on the run, but I'm still in my framework, if that makes sense. So that's why in NEPQ we have everything from connection questions to situation questions to problem awareness to solution awareness to consequence. And so that's why we've been able to go into any industry. We're in 161 industries now and be able to duplicate that process. And it doesn't matter if it's selling insurance to, coaching and consulting, or, cars or cybersecurity. It doesn't really matter the industry. We're able to duplicate because we have all these salespeople on this framework where they know what they're looking for. And sometimes they have to relanguage the question based on the answer they're getting from the prospect. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So do I believe in scripts? Yes. Do I believe in sounding scripted? No.
Yeah.
That's
I've seen, you get on the phone with salespeople, and the worst ones where you like throw a little detour in, and they're like, and they don't know what to do, and they're like, come back.
And then
like,
they just go to the next question. Yeah, they're like, ask you the same question again. You're like, they sound like a telemarketer, right? Yeah. And that's bad, but it's also, it's kind of like, it's both are bad. It's like the ones that just kind of wing it and don't really know where they're going. Like that's not going to work, and you can't sound scripted. So that's where your tone comes across. We train, like there's 5 tonalities that you really have to master. You have to master the curious tone. Like, walk me through it. What do you guys do to, generate new leads and clients now? Like if I'm selling leads to, say, a real estate agent, whatever, then there's the confused tone. Like, I'm not understanding. How did you mean when you said XYZ? That's a confused tone, right? So why do I use a confused tone when I want them to clarify or probe? because that would cause the prospect's brain to be like, and they don't even know what's going on, but it causes their brain to be like, oh, I didn't like really tell him, I didn't really explain that really well. I need to clarify it better. So that causes them to go deeper into that, like maybe problem they were talking about. So it gives them to relive their pain, right? So a confused tone would do that. If I didn't use a confused tone there, if I used a curious tone, like, oh, what happened when you said that? It's like, it doesn't do anything, right? It doesn't get them to internalize. Then there's like a challenging tone. So you're not going to use a challenging tone at the beginning of a conversation, but I might be halfway through and I might be saying, so what happens if you don't do anything about this and the situation gets worse? So that's a kind of a challenging tone where they kind of push back like, no, I need to do it now, right? But if I didn't use that tone, I wouldn't get that emotional reaction. And then there's like a concern tone. I might lean in and be like, what's really holding you back? That tone that shows empathy, right? Because then that communicates. See, my tone is how the prospect interprets the intention behind every question I ask, right? So they feel I'm concerned, they will typically trust me more and start to emotionally open up more. If they don't feel I'm concerned, they shut down. So, and then there's like a playful tone, let's say if somebody like comes to a call and they're late, I might say, well, what are we going to do with you, man? What's going on? Or I might, like if they're like, hey, how are you doing today? I'm like, oh, just hanging out, being the boring guy. What about you? Playful tone. So like all these type of tones influence the way the prospect's brain will react.